Hello and welcome to the 14th episode of Knits and Beads podcast. I'm your host Lorelei Erdo. I'm a jewelry designer who knits in her free time. You can find me all over social media. I'm on Instagram and post several times a day usually as my name Lorelei Erdo. I'm also on Ravelry under Lorelei Erdo. I have an Etsy store for my handmade jewelry at loreleierdojewelry.etsy.com, and I have a website where I also sell jewelry and tutorials and sometimes some jewelry components made of vintage tin. And my website is loreleierdojewelry.com. We do have a Ravelry group for the podcast. It is under the Groups tab. Just do a search for Knits and Beads podcast. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for stopping in and seeing what I'm up to. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate your patronage. Let's just get right into the nitty-gritty. I'm going to switch things up and talk about new acquisitions first. So I placed a couple of orders within the last 2 weeks, and I received a few things last week that I had mentioned in last week's episode that I was waiting for. The first thing is a skein of yarn from the Cyborg's Craft Room. You've probably seen this lovely dyer on the interweb. She's on Instagram, and that's where I kind of first saw her designs. So one day I looked over at her site because she had just updated, and she had this lovely in there. It's the colorway called We Will Rock You. This is a Asakalate, her Asakalate, I think I'm saying that right, base, and it's a fingering weight sock yarn. 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon, and this is 463 yards. I love the dramatic kind of coloring on that. It's so pretty. I hope you can see it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but I think it might be fun paired with a semi-solid color. One of the colors maybe in this. That would be very cool. So I got that. I also received a couple of skeins from Amy Edwards Green of Stranded Dye Works. Here's her label. This is the Flamboyant-esque colorway, 75-25 superwash merino nylon, fingering weight sock yarn. And I am just in love with this color. Amy Edwards Green keeps, she does a podcast also. It's the Stranded podcast. I recommend it. Her episodes aren't super long. They're pretty quick. She talks about what she's knitting and crocheting, and then also talks about updates in her Etsy store, strandeddyeworks.etsy.com. Please check her out, buy her yarn. It's amazing, and she's super awesome all the way around. She sent me a great little note with my order, which was very much appreciated because I had been ordering some hand-dyed yarns lately that I tend to be a little bit surprised that people don't just add in a little thank you or a little handwritten note like Amy did. That's really, really something I admire. Do I do it every time I, send out an order? No, sometimes I do get caught up with the busyness of business and don't do it, but I really enjoy it when it happens, so I'm going to try my best to do that more and send my customers a little handwritten note. I just think it makes a big difference, and I will definitely be buying more of Amy's yarn in the future because it is awesome, and she is awesome, and I just can't say enough good things about this. So this flamboyant-esque, it's awesome. It's like bright, bright fuchsia pink, plum, which I believe she called pops of navy, but in person it looks very plum purple to me, which I love. And look at that orange. Oh, she was knitting this into a pair of socks recently in one of her recent episodes, and that's what made me buy it. It's pretty cool when you can see, you know, sock yarn actually knitted up and you know exactly what it looks like. This is the other one I got from her, and I accidentally removed the tag on this one, but the colorway on this one is Fun Fair. And it's like really, really vibrant colors, blue, gold, magenta, some green. Look at that pop of green. Oh, really fun. Love it. This is the same base too. This is Oasis. Did I mention that? It's Oasis. But she has a nice MCN too that I'm planning on ordering next. I can't wait. So definitely check out Stranded Dye Works. Can't recommend them enough. I also have, I haven't received my Hedgerow yarns order yet. I hope it comes soon. I'm not sure. I ordered it around the same time as I ordered Amy's yarn. And Hedgerow Yarns is in the UK also, so I'm hoping it comes soon. And I also am getting my Fiberista Club today. And I have no idea what that's going to be. So when I get that later, because my mailman usually comes around 1 o'clock, maybe I'll do a little supplemental video and insert it if I have time. I will insert it right here so you can see what that looks like. So if you are a... Here's a disclaimer. If you are a member of the Fiberista Club and you haven't gotten your Fiberista Club yet, then you might want to look away. So yeah, those are the other yarns I'm getting. The other thing I got this week is a friend of mine sent me... All right, I'll talk about this one first. Friend of mine sent me a tin, so I got this great tin. Pretty floral. Look forward to cutting that up for jewelry. And my friend Tammy Powley does jewelry. She is a knitter, and she has a channel. I believe her channel on YouTube is under Tammy Powley, and that's Powley. She talks about yarn. She does reviews on books. She does reviews on jewelry books. She does jewelry tutorials. She has a Blythe doll vlog collection also, if you are interested in Blythe dolls. And she sent me some books that she had recently reviewed, and thought she would pass them on to me, thinking that maybe I could use them. So I'm pretty excited. So I got this Nikki Epstein's Knitting Block by Block. Very cool. And I saw this on the Beaded Butterflies podcast recently, and I was like thinking that it looked really cool. Like, just look at this. Oh man, look at that. Just look at that. Yeah. Very cool. Oh, I just found Tammy's card. Hopefully you can see that okay. Crafty Princess Diaries, Tammy Powley's Crafty Weblog. You can see that at www.tammypowley.com. And you can check out her Etsy store at tammypowley.etsy.com. She also sent me Modern Country Knits, 30 designs from Juniper Moon Farm, which I love them. This is published by 6th and Spring Books. It's not one I've heard of before, but what a fantastic book this is. Like, for example, this dress is amazing. Look at that. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see it? And she also sent me 50 garter stitch gifts to knit. I gotta love the garter. I'm a big fan of garter. And this has some really fun things in it. Oh my gosh, these are so cute. Look at those. Excuse me. There where this cough is coming from all of a sudden. Okay, so that's all my new acquisitions at the moment. Let me talk about what I'm working on. I don't have any finished objects this week, unfortunately. It's sad. I wish I had something, but I do not. However, I do have a hoe. I am working on another pair of socks. Sorry I don't have sock blockers to show this to you. There are some nicer still pictures on my Ravelry page if you want to check them out. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this there. You should definitely follow me there because I post a lot of stuff there. So I am knitting another pair of Susan B. Anderson's How I Knit My Socks pattern. It is free on Ravelry. It redirects you to her blog where she writes instructions on how she knits her socks. I knit these on 2 32-inch circular needles, Knitter's Pride Nova Platinas. And the yarn I used is Junk Yarn by Kemper Ray in her Drew colorway. And that's Drew Barrymore. She's awesome. And okay, so I did 15 rows of ribbing because I don't like doing ribbing, so I try to do as little as possible, and this is about enough for me. Little cat hair in there, doesn't hurt anybody. And I did a 4-inch cuff this time because I figure it's almost summer and I don't need a really tall sock. And I wanted to have a little extra left over so I can wind it in a ball for my upcoming mini skein swap that I am participating in that is being hosted by the Grocery Girls podcast and also the Legacy Knits podcast. 4 inches, heel flap and gusset, which is my favorite thing about doing a sock. I have a size 10 foot. I knit about 8 inches of the foot, and then I started decreasing for the heel and did Susan's decreases every other row, knitting every other row, and then Kitchenered the toe. Now, I'm not sure why this happened, but when I got to the decreases and I got about here, I'm counting and I notice that I have reached 12 stitches on one needle cord, but there's like 16 on the other. I don't know how that happened. I think that I don't know how that happened. So I ended up having to like just catch up, and how I did that was I just did the decreases on the one side that had more stitches on it and then just knit across the other side and then knit across and then knit across and then decreased and then knit across and then decreased or knit across or whatever until I got to the even 12 and 12, and then I don't know. So I think that maybe because here's where I have a problem. I get through the heel flap all set. I've turned the heel, and now I'm ready to start working in the round or start working the decrease section. And I have a hard time figuring out how to reorganize my needles, and I don't know if I should knit the stitches or just slide the stitches from one needle to another to so that the ends of the rows are here and here. And I just think that maybe I knit when I shouldn't have. That's the only thing I can think of. Ho, ho, ho. And you'll be happy to see I cast on the second sock. Yes, I have started the ribbing. I'm almost done with this ribbing and I can get going on the foot. So, yay for no second sock syndrome. Whoop, whoop. Very excited. I love how this knit up. I love the yarn. It's so fun. It fits like a dream. And yay for sock knitting. And as you can see, I've got lots of upcoming socks in the future, in my very near future. Okay, so that is that project. I am still working on that test knit. I'm not going to show you. I haven't really made any progress on it, I'm afraid to say. I did get all of my yarn wound up for my Jessie's cardigan that I'm working on by Elizabeth Smith. So there's the rest of my yarn. And so I picked this bad boy back up yesterday and it's going along very quickly, which is nice. So I have knit a lot of the body and I knit up the left side and shaped the shoulder this morning, and now I can move on to doing that on the other side and then do the back and I will have a sweater. I'm very excited. So it's hard to show this, so I'm not even going to show you, but this is being knit out of, see if I can remember, the Fiber Company Savannah in the Mesquite colorway. And this is a completely garter, all garter stitch. So it's knitting up really quickly, and I just love the fabric that this yarn is making. It's really nice, soft, and has a great drape too that I love. Okay, so I don't, what's sad is I don't have any shawls on the needle right now, on the needles, besides my test knit. So I'm feeling like I need to cast on a shawl. So unfortunately I just haven't been able to pick one because there are so many that I want to do. So hopefully next week when I podcast I will be able to show you the next shawl. Maybe by then I'll have started one, who knows. But I hope at least to have picked one by then. All right, let's talk about this week in business, shall we? Okay, so Joe, it's not uncommon that Joe gets asked to help people because Joe is that kind of a guy. And recently he was asked by a guy that's in his golf league to come over and help him move a dresser. So Joe goes over there. It's about 25 minutes north of where we live. Not too far, but a little bit of a drive, kind of out, more country, outside the city. There's a very small town, and this guy lives like maybe 2 seconds away from this little downtown area. And so Joe got home from helping him move this dresser, and he says to me, he explains that this guy that has this house is wanting to sell this house because he got divorced and now he's stuck with this big house, and it's too much for him as a single guy, and so he wants to try to sell it. But Joe fell in love with this house. So he comes home and he's all excited to tell me all about it. And I'm just not picturing it in his head because Joe tends to gloss over major details, like, so I'm just trying to like picture it, and I'm like, I'm not picturing it. And he's going on, and he's like, do you want me to show it to you? And I was like, okay, you know. And when he's telling me, I'm thinking it's a 5-bedroom house, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, at least 4 bathrooms. And it's in what Joe kept calling a carriage house, and I'm not sure what that's all about when he's telling me. But then once I saw it, I understood. But so he's like, I'm gonna text Kevin and see if we can go look at it. And I'm like, all right. So he texts him, Kevin's gonna be home mowing the lawn, so we can stop by anytime or whatever. So we go out to lunch and we drive up there. All right, so we get to the point where we come across this house, and Joe said, okay, well, this is the main house. And I'm like, is this where Kevin lives? And he's like, no, Kevin lives in the carriage house behind this main house. So the main house is owned by a couple who own a local ski resort, actually. Beautiful home. The driveway, if you were to pull in there, would eventually bring you to the back where the carriage house is, but they have this big fence in between the 2 homes. And the carriage house is actually not owned by that family in the main house. It's owned by this guy, Kevin, as of like 2005, I think he bought it. So we kept going, and there's a separate driveway. So we pull in, and there's like these big, beautiful stone, the driveway is flanked by these stone like pillar type things with lamps, and one lamp was busted and the other lamp looks like it's half hanging. Go down this long driveway and it loops you around into the front of this house, and then there's like this little courtyard area, like parking lot, like driveway. And then you can see that where the stone comes together again, and there's a big door, and you would drive through, and then you would end up at the main house. So basically this carriage house is where the original family of this homestead kept their horses. So when you look at the house, it's got 2 garage doors, and then a double door that opens up, like carriage house type double doors. And then the house is like an L shape, and where the house comes out, there's the doorway to go into the home, but there's also a doorway to go into the house to the far left of the furthest left garage door. There's another little door there. So when you walk into this house, we actually went into and checked out the garage. It's just a basic 2-car garage, and then where those carriage doors are is like a work kind of place with shelves and a workbench, you know, to do your whatever. I'm sure Joe would find a million things to do with that space. A lot of storage in there too. But if you went into the main doors of the house, you end up walking into this enormous room. It's huge. And completely like all paneled in dark, dark wood. The ceiling and the walls are all this dark, dark wood. So the room is very, very dark in that regard. But we walked in, and I immediately noticed this huge sliding barn door that separates this main room from the hallway, and it's all original. And like amazing original hardware on the door and everything. And the flooring is like, Joe called it cobblestone kind of, but it's like tile that looks like cobblestones basically. You walk through this little hallway, like into the hallway, and there are a little bit more details that look like original carriage house type of stuff. There was actually like, I think, a bridle or something hanging on the wall there. And you go down this little hallway, and it's there are 2 little bedrooms and a bathroom there. Then, if once you walk into that doorway and you turn left, you go upstairs, and upstairs you end up in this big open living room space with a huge fireplace. The living room actually is up a couple of steps, and then it's not very big, but the way he had the furniture arranged was kind of cool, where all the furniture was kind of facing to the right and the TV was there. But the fireplace was majestic, beautiful. Very cozy, kind of, even though it was a big room, very, very cozy. To the left is a dining room and the kitchen. And the dining room and the kitchen were separated by this weird kind of temporary wall. And the kitchen was fairly small. There was also like kind of another wall at that end of the kitchen where it had kind of a cutout where you could see into the kitchen from that. And I believe there was some sort of iron accents there. And if you go through the dining room and keep going straight, there were 2 more bedrooms, a laundry room, a bathroom, and then a back staircase. And when we got to the bottom of the stairs, there was a mudroom. And if you went out that door, that would be the door to the left of the garage door that I was telling you about. Then the master bedroom is off the living room. So if you got up to the top of the stairs and turned right, and then turned around again, there's the bedroom. And the bedroom, big bedroom with a master bath, ensuite master bath, had a big, huge bay window. Big bedroom, beautiful. Carpet, wallpaper, very outdated. A lot of it needs a lot of work. So, you might be asking yourself, why is she telling me about this house? Well, I have had a dream for quite a while now to do some sort of crafty retreat. And the only thing that is holding me back right now is the fact that I don't have the room in this 3-bedroom bungalow to host a retreat here in my house. I would be able to do it, I would be able to rent out someplace or, collaborate with some sort of local bed and breakfast or hotel to offer lodging. And I actually had talked about it with a close friend of mine who lives up the street, who's very crafty herself. We talked about it a little bit more seriously a while back. She had friends that own a house up the street, and the house is beautiful. They have a great yard and big, lot of landscaping and just really kind of beautiful couple of bedrooms. We actually went to them and said, would you be interested in letting us use your house? And that didn't go over well. So we kind of forgot about it for a while. And now, somehow, this house got Joe thinking that maybe we could do it if we had this house. And the house is not, it is a little bit out of our price range. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility. Very close to being out of the realm of possibility if we couldn't do the retreat. The retreats, a crafty retreat would mean that I would be able to house at least 5 to 6 people on a weekend. And offer, food, and possibly, when I say retreat, it could be all kinds of things. Like, I'm looking at kind of a bigger picture as far as it doesn't have to be all jewelry. It doesn't have to be all knitting. It could be it could be some jewelry. It could be some knitting. It could be some, I could bring in my mother. She knows how to do loom rug weaving. I could bring in my friend Tara, who knows how to do a little bit of graphic design. She also makes prints and painted wood palette signs for your home. And she's starting to do a little sewing. We could have sewing. We could do we could make aprons. We could do all kinds of things. There are so many things that I could bring people in to teach people how to do. Or I could just have a knitting retreat where you could come and hang out in my house and knit for 2 days, you know. There are so many possibilities, and you know, a lot of things would have to happen. We would have to be able to sell our current home and make enough money on it to make this whole venture worth it. And then obviously once we got moved in, there is a lot of work to be done on the house. However, I would have no problem running retreats in the midst of maybe doing small renovation on the home. Joe can do a lot of work himself, so you know, we can update bathrooms easily enough. We can do things like that. The kitchen would be the biggest thing that I would want to do in the future, but that wouldn't obviously be able to happen right away. I can't help but wonder if this is like, I mean, this is just kind of falling in my lap, and I am not one to just, you know, jump into something that I haven't thought about a lot, or, you know, I'm just not one to make really big decisions like really quickly. So part of me is kind of like holding back, like don't get too excited, because there is a lot of things that, a lot of pieces in the puzzle that would need to be placed in order for this to happen. I put some feelers out on Facebook yesterday just to see if people would be interested in doing that, and I got about 20 responses, which is pretty good. You know, I didn't do anything on my blog yet or anything like that. I'm thinking initially that it would be kind of fun to do this maybe once a month, a retreat of some sort, or workshop once a month to start. And that's might also be a lot of work. I mean, but at this point, with where my business is standing at this point, I don't think this could have come at a better time, because it's making me really think about what kind of direction I want to go in. And this, you know, more of a teaching direction might be exactly what I need to do next. So there's a lot to think about, and I wanted to talk about it today because I just think it would help me get it out, this excitement. It's like building up, and I need to like tell somebody about it. I haven't gotten together with my friend yet, so I can pick her brain, but hopefully I will be able to do that this week and sit down with her, because, you know, I definitely want to have some of her help with all of this. I can't do it alone. I know I've got Joe, but as far as like what kind of things we want to do, and what kind of things I want to offer, and how involved I want certain people to be, that, you know, I need to talk about all that stuff. I also need to talk about how to actually go about doing this, like setting it up so that I have sponsors, and setting it up so I have materials readily available. Is that something I'm going to have to really fork out a lot of money for? You know, these are all major, major things to think about. So it's been fun dreaming about this. I'm going to spend a few more days probably really, really dreaming hard about this house. But Joe and I both have not been able to stop thinking about this house since we looked at it. And there are just so many things we could do, and the possibilities are just endless. It's on 2 acres of land. The property is beautiful. We both love to do, you know, landscaping and gardening. So that's definitely going to be something I would want to do. And, you know, utilize the outside space as much as the inside space. I didn't even mention, off of the living room, there is also like a sunroom, and it's probably 3-season. I don't believe that it's insulated, but there is kind of a big like electric heater out there. And Kevin was saying that you could use it in the winter, but it does get a little bit chilly. And then if you go out the sliding doors, there's a deck, pretty sizable deck. You go down another set of stairs and there's a lower deck. So 2 decks on this home. It's amazing. The outside space is really amazing. Mature trees kind of overhanging over the deck for some shade. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Oh my God. I'm going to be dreaming about this house. I just wish that it would be like a possibility. It would be major, major, major. So, you know, that's what we're thinking. I would have enough space for a studio. I would have enough space to house, you know, I'm thinking like the bedrooms are pretty dinky, but there might be 2 or 3 bedrooms that I could fit 2 twin beds in. And, you know, I mean, that's pretty good, I think. And I don't think people would mind that much, people that come to visit us. Not that we get a lot of overnight guests, but you know, the more beds, the better, I think. Like at the end of the month, my in-laws are coming to visit, and right now we only have 1 guest room with 1 queen bed. So people are sleeping on the couch. People are possibly getting a hotel room because the family, there's a large amount of them coming. So, you know, I'm just thinking about that too. Like it would be so nice to have more space for overnight guests. Now, another thing to think about is how are these people going to get to me? I live about an hour away as of right now from the airport. So we're talking like at least an hour and 20-minute drive to the airport and back. So, I mean, I would like to try to figure out a way to pick everyone up at the same time at the airport if people are flying in. You know, and if that means renting a van and picking everybody up, that would, you know, I don't see why that's a big major deal. So transportation, you know, unless you can drive to my location, that would be the one thing that I would be kind of concerned about. And then another bonus of where this house is that it's basically at the foot of the Adirondack Mountains. And I mean, we're talking like a 20-minute drive to the Adirondacks. The Adirondack Mountains are beautiful. It's a very short drive to Old Forge, New York, which is a lovely area. Lots of, there's a beautiful downtown area. There's a lake there. There's several lakes there, but it's just gorgeous. So that would be, you know, something we could do like a little day trip too. So chew on that for a while. If you have any suggestions or thoughts about my big plan, my dream, let me know. If there was something I didn't think about that I need to start thinking about, like some major glitch, let me know. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about these days. So that's all I've got for you today. I know, pretty short episode, as they all are, but that's okay. I think I think it's doable. My podcast is doable. You got, 30 minutes to sit down and do this. Awesome. Thank you for coming over and listening to me talk about knitting. So that's all I've got at the moment. Thanks for coming. I hope to see you all next Monday. Have a good one.